Video games come with many surprises. Things are changing all the time. It's so far from a fully realized medium. Sometimes things you didn't know you needed are shown to you out of nowhere. As you can imagine, accidentally stumbling into something like this can really grab your undivided attention. Genova Chen is on a mission to have the world view video games as art, one that he and that game company have been moving the needle on for over 16 years. You might think it obvious that video games are art, a common sense belief. However, a large part of the world still has no perception of that reality regardless of how far the creative outlet has come since its inception. Genova Chen's games are all in a sense simpler looking experiences on a surface level that have infinite depth in the way you can choose to interact with them, and even more so in what you can take from them thematically. AAA tends to be the space where you will more often than not hear of experiences that contain the most meaningful stories and create the most impact. You get 10 to 20 hour games that tell detailed narratives with rich characters and impressive world building. It's very easy to pay the most attention to these types of games as the production value tends to speak for itself. They command the attention of the mainstream, and time after time they seem to deliver. However, some of the industry's most thought-provoking and moving experiences lie far outside of this space. The production costs of AAA games are rising dramatically as the years go on. The games that get this kind of funding need to have high chances of making these costs back. The independent game space is one that allows for very unique experimentation. Lower budgets allow for greater risk-taking in development when publishers take some of these projects under their wing and back them. Having smaller indie games fail when having a backer like Sony or Microsoft is not as big a deal considering the amount invested is but a fraction to something that's AAA. Thatgamecompany had until 2019 launched all of their games with the backing of Sony, starting small with Flow. Flow is a simple game where you play as a variety of microorganisms. You work through a number of levels as you grow through the consumption of other organisms. What's nice about Flow going back to it was the clear beginning of that game company creating environments where you can just sit back, clear your head, and take in something simple. What it's evolved into since then has such clear connective tissue. Adding 2 letters to Flow will get you their next game, Flower. Flower is in a way a spiritual successor to Flow. They function similarly. Played exclusively using motion controls, you fly around beautiful open environments as flower petals using the power of the wind. As your petals grow, you go level by level clearing corruption and bringing life back to the world. Flower again embraces what that game company built in Flow. It doesn't ask much of you, just that you feel something while playing. It avoids overstimulation. Flower has a soundtrack that adapted to what you were doing in-game. It dynamically changed on the fly as you approached different areas or moments in the game. It acted as groundwork for what would be expertly implemented in the studio's next game. Journey is a particularly important game in the industry, one that changed the entire perception of how independent games are viewed and the value they hold to a lot of people. When I bought Journey in March of 2012, I felt like I was taking a risk. It was based in pure ignorance of what independent developers were capable of. Seeing one screenshot of the game was enough to sell me on launch day. Not many developers at the time were putting out games that stood out artistically as much as Journey did. I didn't need to see anything else. It to this day is one of the best game purchases you can make. It was one of the first games that genuinely moved me. Sitting with it in silence for the couple hours it takes to complete in a world where everyone was communicating with voice and online games was pure bliss. That game company applied parts of all their previous works to make Journey what it was, but with the addition of a new pillar, social interactions with real players. You have to find completely new ways to interact with people on their own journey with the press of a single button. It was an entirely unique concept to this game at the time. The same technique of music dynamically changing with what you do and where you're at in the game was mastered. Journey was many people's introduction to the compositions of Austin Wintory, who the games industry is beyond lucky to have. His music is the heart of the game, and its execution in its most emotional moments plays one of the biggest roles in its unforgettable nature, especially when paired with the game's unique social interaction. As you run into another traveler, they can be gone as quick as they came if you don't stick together. It's something that isn't immediately apparent on a first playthrough. As you reach the top of the mountain and the credits roll, you might find out that the single person who accompanied you the entire way was actually many people. It's an incomparable feeling, one that has yet to be replicated. Journey changed the way I look at games. At only $15 and a 2-hour length, it provided more value than any other release that year. If Flower was the spiritual successor to Flow, then Sky Children of Light is the same to Journey. The same gameplay transitions, from ground to the sky. Sky was a pivot for that game company. Previously, their games had been closely associated with PlayStation, but it was decided Sky would be launching on mobile. At the time, a decision that was admittedly disappointing. The intent was unclear. Until now, every time they released a game on PlayStation, it had broken digital purchase records. But Genova Chen's goal had become larger in scope. While the needle had moved, video games still were not considered art in the mainstream. More people needed to be reached. Sky Children of Light was first released on mobile for free for that exact reason: more potential players. A bold decision that worked out very well. It finally debuted on console via the Nintendo Switch in 2021, and then found its way back to PlayStation this December. Sky, much like everything that came before it, hones what had been built in every Thatgamecompany game before it. This time around, there are many more players in the mix. You still mostly communicate just like in Journey, but with many more tools at your disposal. You have emotes you can use and guidance in the way of physical interaction. It's truly an evolution of Journey, except instead of heading towards the mountain, you have much more cause to go in every direction. Sky Children of Light is an online game. As such, it's based in seasons, much like many of today's free-to-play games. Something Fortnite popularized in the space with in-game concerts. Impressive ones. It was that exact type of event I stumbled into the waiting room for in Sky. A concert from Aurora, a huge artist I had only heard of in passing. But I walked into an arena with not tens of people, but thousands. It's something that I had never seen before at such a scale, and so I had to partake. From what I had come to know of online concerts, I expected an interactive 10 to 20 minute event. What I did not expect was to be absolutely moved for almost an entire hour as I went through an event with thousands of strangers that again could not speak to each other outside of emoting, and to an artist I had not gotten the pleasure of listening to until that moment. Going through the Aurora concert is like playing bite-sized journeys with each song change, each in a different environment and as a different type of being for 8 songs expertly stringed together. Aurora is an artist that makes music that in tone fits the message and themes of the types of games that game company makes. With each song, the event grows more impressive as you're led to the finale, for an incredible climactic event that lands more impressively than the music events put on within gaming's biggest moneymaker. All of this within a game made by a small independent team. On its first showing, over 1.6 million players experienced it across many instances, and it will continue to be shown every 4 hours until the final showtime on January 2nd. Sky Children of Light is proof developers, no matter the size or budget, have an equal chance to create groundbreaking experiences in the industry. If I had to describe the experience in one word, it would be art.